Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can see by the title, I'm gonna be letting you guys know some of the things that you need to know that basically let y'all know that you have matured as a woman. Let's go ahead and get straight into this video. I really wanted to make this video just to be sort of like a confirmation for some of my girls out there that are maturing in life and learning new things as they become into women. And these are some of the things that I wish some people would have confirmed to me when I was still growing up and becoming a woman. Of course, I'm only 20 years old. So without further ado, I'm gonna get straight into the video and I hope you guys enjoy. One of the first signs that I want to bring up is the way that you speak now. Okay, when I was younger and I was still learning my way, I just used to throw my words around and they didn't really hold much value. I'm just gonna put it out there like that. Like I used to just say things just to get it off my chest, just to be heard. Eventually I started being more reserved to myself, not just because I felt like my words didn't have value. It is actually the opposite, is because my words did hold more weight, more value, more I spoke with more intention. What type of substance can I bring to the conversation? Like, that's really how I started to think. I don't know if you guys have a problem with the way you speak, but I know I needed some work done with even the basics like grammar, the speed in which I spoke. Like I would just blah 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 blah, try and rush and get it out, because one thing about me, and I still struggle with this to this day, is my memory. My memory would screw me over every single time. I would go blank in the head every single time I got into a conversation, especially if it was one-on-one. I would rehearse the conversation in my head, which I don't do anymore. We're gonna get into that. I would rehearse the conversation in my head and then I would get into the conversation and boom, I'm blank. Like, I have nothing to say anymore. So, but that brings me to my next point. Rehearsing the conversation in your head, it doesn't really help you as much as you think you will, because just the simple fact of that, you never know what is going to go on in that conversation, okay? When I go into conversations now, I genuinely go in with the best intention possible, and whatever happens, I'm going to respond and react in that way, okay? I don't go into conversations with an expectation of anything. Of course, I go with a standard and, you know, my boundaries. I go with a sense of trust in myself, but I definitely don't go in with holding such a high expectation of what I think the conversation should look like. You know what I mean? So I definitely have to switch up my communication skills and just having some type of substance and value in the words that you speak. You're a lovely woman and you should be able to communicate that in the way you speak and the way you communicate with the people around you. All right, so my second thing that I noticed that really stood out to me when I started to mature, as well as other people, is my confidence. That is a big misconception. It is confidence, not cockiness, okay? You should be able to walk into any room with the level of confidence that nobody could ever steer. Nobody should ever be able to sway you from what you're thinking. Nobody should ever be able to tell you who you are as a person. I have taken the time to really do the work to get to know myself to the point where I am confident 100% in who I am, what I come with, what I bring to the table, what I have to say. Nobody should be able to tell you things that you don't know about yourself already. So that is one of the key things, is that you have confidence, but you're not cocky. You're not walking around here diminishing anybody else's self-esteem. You're not being disrespectful to anybody else. Confidence is simply just being able to be your authentic self without bringing somebody else's self down in the meantime, okay? Try to uplift the people around you instead of trying to bring them down. You might be that one person that knows exactly what that person needs. Okay, so number 3 on my list of the signs that will immediately tell you that you're maturing is that you stand more grounded in the decisions that you make, whether it's day-to-day, whether it's short-term goals, long-term goals. You are standing in it, okay? When it comes to making decisions, you have to stand in it, okay? Especially if you want to have a successful life. Success doesn't always look the same to anybody, but as long as you have a goal and you are consistently working towards it because you know exactly what you want, that right there to me is success in any type of shape or form. As long as you are working consistently towards the goal that you want, not that anybody else wants, not that the expectation of what you should have, the goal that you want and you are actively working towards it in a way that is healthy and makes you happy, you should 100% stand in that decision until you make it to the end. When you realize that you start doing that, when you start making decisions that you're like, I'm doing that, and this is what I'm standing on, this is my life, and I made this decision, and I'm going to move towards it until I get there, and I'm not going to stop until I get there. Once you start doing that, you're going to realize, oh. Okay, so the fourth or fifth thing that we're going to talk about today is when you notice that you start to handle the situations that happen in your life a little bit more delicately and a little bit more meticulously. Okay, and when I say that, I don't mean like hyper focusing on things that happen and diving deep into them. Of course, at some points it will take a little bit more work to understand what happened, why it affected you, how it did. But something that really stuck out to me when I finally started to realize that I was growing as a person and as a woman was that I started to look at situations that I was being put in from a higher perspective, okay? Once you get that perspective down and the emotional state, it will help you 10 times more in the long run, because the way you deal with the situation in that moment is going to affect then and the future time. I know it sounds cliche to say, oh, what did this situation teach me? Like, oh, do we always have to be learning from something? But in all actuality, everything that we go through genuinely teaches us something, either about the outside world or something about ourselves even more. And that is something that I had to grow to love about the things that I was going through. I had to start to love the experiences that I was going through, whether they were good or bad, quote unquote bad, because I noticed that every single time I went through something, it drew me closer to the person that I was becoming as a woman, because a lot of things that happen in our life are unexpected. So when you realize that when things happen in your life and you're not so shaken like you used to be, that's your sign right there. So the next thing that I want to bring up is that you start doing things with a little bit more intention. Let me not say a little bit, a lot more intention. Living your life with intention just literally means moving through your life with some type of purpose instead of just going through the motions. As a young woman maturing, it's all about becoming aware of who you are, what you value, what kind of a life you actually want to live. It's about making decisions that align with your growth, your peace, your independence, whether it's setting boundaries, showing up for your goals, or simply just being more present in your day-to-day life. It's choosing you every single step of the way. Living intentionally doesn't have to mean that you have it all figured out or it's not gonna be hard. Simply just act in a way that honors the woman that you're becoming and making room for what truly matters to you. The next point that I want to bring up is being selfish without being self-centered. It simply means that you're finally choosing yourself. As a young woman growing into who we are, it comes to a point where we realize that constantly pouring into others and leaving ourselves out is not strength, it's burnout. It kind of falls back into my last point about living with intention, just learning to say yes to you, even if that means saying no to what usually drains you. And we all know what drains us. Let's be for real. And please, 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 do not ever feel guilty for outgrowing things that no longer serve you anymore. It's just simple as that. You can still love people around you very deeply while also still choosing yourself. And trust me, when you start to take care of you, you start to show up for the people around you 10 times better. I had to learn that the very long way, because me personally, I was definitely that person that was always there for somebody else. I was constantly the person that they call. I was constantly the person that was there to talk to them and bring them out of a space that just wasn't healthy for them. And I started to neglect myself and my needs mentally, physically, emotionally, and that just wasn't healthy. And when I started to recognize that, I knew immediately something's changing in me. The only person that really, truly needed me was me. All right, so a lot of people ain't gonna like this one, but another little key point when you notice that you start to mature a little bit is taking accountability. Ooh. Yes, when you start to take accountability for your actions, honey, you're growing. Accountability is simply a form of self-love, girl. Hear me out. It's being honest with yourself even when it's uncomfortable. It's not about shame. It's about growth, purely. It's saying to yourself, I want better, so I'm going to do better. And actually following through, not just for others, but for yourself. It's checking your patterns, learning your mistakes, learning from your mistakes, and definitely not letting your excuses hold you back from the life that you want. Growth starts the moment you decide to stop running from the reflection in the mirror, honey. Okay, so let's get on the topic of boundaries. Yes, boundaries and maturity go hand in hand. When you start setting boundaries, it means you've reached a place where you no longer are driven by need to please or over explain yourself, or to literally sacrifice yourself just to keep the peace. Setting boundaries doesn't mean that you love anyone less. It means you finally love yourself enough to stop shrinking for them. Okay, so the next point that I want to talk about is really something that's kind of one of the most important things to me. I don't want to say that I was completely alone, but I definitely did not have a lot of people in my corner that related to what I was going through. So it did feel a little bit isolated, but I'm going to tell you how to fix that. Being independent does not mean that you have to be isolated. And let me tell you why. Being independent doesn't mean that you have to push everyone away. That's not what I'm saying at all. As I matured, I had to really sit down and realize that being truly independent didn't mean I had to do everything alone. It's about knowing that you can, but choosing community, love, support. We all need it at some point. Making decisions for yourself, not based on whoever's watching. Building a life that you're proud of, whether or not someone's clapping for you or not. You just have to trust that you deserve more than to carry this life alone. Independence isn't a wall, it's a foundation. And I'm gonna move on to the next one with that being said. Okay, y'all, so we are going to finish off strong. One of the ones that I feel like is also one of the most important ones and one of the most obvious signs that you are maturing as a person and as a woman just in general is being open to growth and learning. Growth doesn't mean you were wrong. Don't get it twisted. It just means you're ready for more. Being open to growth just simply means being willing to evolve as a person, even when it's uncomfortable. Understanding that you don't have all the answers right now, but you do have to be willing to learn and unlearn, and choosing progress over perfection over anything. It's simply realizing that every single version of you had a purpose. Every single version of you, you needed her every single step of the way. You wouldn't be who you are if it weren't for her. But the woman that you are becoming, it requires new thoughts, new ideas, new habits, and a deeper level of self-awareness. Growth is never linear, but being open to it is one of the most strongest, most beautiful things that a woman can do. But guys, as you can see, that was the last thing on my list. Trust me, there are much more things that I could cover. But those are my top 9 signs that will truly show you and everyone around you that you are elevating and maturing as a person, as a woman, as a young adult, just in general in this world. I'm telling you right now, if you adapt some of the things that I told you in this video today, your life will immediately start to change and you will see the changes immediately. So I just want to thank you guys so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys use some of the things and recognize some of the things that I talked about in this video for you guys. Just know that I love you. I'm always here for you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.